Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Radical. Berto is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. And in here as El Ingeniero today, we have El Señor Don. How are you doing, Don?
I'm good.
I'm good. We're back to that again. I'm good. All's good?
Yep.
You ready for Christmas?
Nope.
Are you working on Christmas?
Of course.
Well, you know what, man? We are all happy that we have great folk here that are there holding down the fort. Without you guys, nothing happens here. So rest assured, there are all of us out here at KPFT know what you guys are doing for this great community radio station. And folks, I think, hey, Don, aren't we going through something like a silent something or whatever?
You're referring to the silent drive.
Yeah, tell us a little about that.
Oh, it's the silent drive where we ask for money similar to a regular fund drive, except we kind of do it in a quote-unquote silent way, mostly going online and telling people, hey, we are a community-based radio station that needs your help because we don't take money from corporate interests.
There you go. So, folks, and by the way, that's not what we're doing today, okay? I just did that because while I'm listening to all the cast and so forth, I see that, we are in, we have a silent fund drive going. I got all that stuff in the mail, but I always forget to kind of just mention it. So, folks, always remember to go to kpft.org and be a part of the family. Today's show is going to be... It's an important show, and I want you guys to call in 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I want you to call in because I know, I believe in what I call the collective brain. The collective brain means that when we all get together, when all our minds get together, we can do things much better than when one person is trying to direct traffic. One person is doing everything. I sure believe in the collective judgment of the masses. Anyhow, so today's program, the title of the program is called, Are We Getting Ready for a Cataclysmic Financial Meltdown? No, it's a interesting sounding topic, but I am serious. Are we heading for a catastrophic financial meltdown? Have you heard of the repo market? If you haven't, then you should, because machinations may be signaling a bigger financial shock. Private insurance extortion of, why did I put that there? The best example for you know what just happened to me?
What's that?
I went ahead and just brought up the title and not the rest of the show. So anyhow, but I'm back with the rest of the show. Anyhow, have you heard of the repo market? If you haven't, then you should, because some machinations may be signaling a bigger financial shock. I hate to talk about this on Christmas Eve, but I must, as you should discuss with your family, friends, the financial security in a civil manner for them to think about it later. I know you're going to say, hey, we don't talk politics, religion. But you know what I've never heard? I've never heard people say we don't talk finances on Christmas. Because people do. Hey, I love that gift. How was that? Did you pay for that? Yeah, what was it? Hey, how's the new job going? People are seeing people they haven't seen in a long time tomorrow. Even some folks are going to be walking in here, Don, for the whatever few hours you're going to be here to say, hey, Don, what's up? You should tell folks, bring you a turkey dinner or something.
No.
Not that, eh?
I just don't trust the way people kitchens look. You can be nasty. I'm not eating that.
Well, I sure hope if you come to my house, you have enough confidence in me to eat the food that I'm going to serve you.
We shall see.
Oh, man. Linda won't like that. Linda, you heard that? And this is Don we're talking about now. Oh, she's hurt. Anyhow, folks, my good friend, former Coffee Party USA colleague and a strong Politics Done Right supporter sent me an email that, knowing him, Tim Donaghy, had an urgency. I have been following the story, urgency of a story that I've been following. And, of course, one of my KPFT listeners, I have so many typos in here, it ain't funny. One of my KPFT listeners, MOD, have been bringing it up when MOD, Tim, and Berto intersect on a subject. I think it warrants a show. And I think it's important. It's funny because MOD, Don, he calls up here a whole lot of times and he'll be all over the place. But when he started talking about the repo market, something that I've been looking into myself, it's like, that is serious. That is something that people really need to get serious about. So anyhow, you need to cover this, Tim Donaghy said. I replied right away. I was just talking to a guy on air at KPFT about it, but this article is boss. And I'm going to read you that article. We'll do it tomorrow. I got the email from him yesterday. Then he replied to me and he said, thanks for all the Trump supporters citing the economy. How can you not have a vibrant economy with $1 trillion deficit? Tim said, every person in America is paying $3,000 a year to support this economy. A family of 4 is paying $12,000 a year to support this economy. A real leader guides a healthy economy that mildly swings between deficits and surpluses. Enough said. Have a wonderful Christmas. Terrible Tim. Hey, Tim, thank you for that. I think it is one of the reasons I wanted to do it today is, a lot of families are going to be meeting tomorrow. And I want them not to bring it up as a serious or hard conversation. I want them to bring it up as a serious conversation, not a hard conversation, just so that people will start to have their eyes open, so that crash that took everybody by surprise in 2008 doesn't do it again. I post this dialogue to illustrate an important feature of politics done right and independent media. Your input counts. Our collective knowledge is so much more powerful than the corporate dictates that come via corporate media. This is one reason why your support is essential for us. We can only be funded by you. Really, folks. That is why you hear KPFT. It's not that KPFT wants to be asking for money all of the times. We hate it. None of us like to get on the phone. I don't like to send out emails and say, please help media. Please help independent media. I don't like to do that. But you know what? It has to be done. Phone's ringing. It has to be done. Because that's how we get the message to you. So what I want to tell you guys is this meltdown, I'm going to read the article a little bit later, is coming. It is coming. I can't exactly tell you what. Right now, we have the Federal Reserves printing money like the gazoo. It's not really printing money. It's just making numbers on the ledger. And we have to get serious about that. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig on Mondays at 3 p.m.
And, of course, there's Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6.
And one of my favorites, Jazz Latino Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best, hosted by
Juan Flores on Tuesdays at noon.
And then, of course, right after this program, you guys got to stick around and listen. Gener Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground, Bagra, Bollywood, funk, Hindi, Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats. Tuesday, sound?
4 to 6 p.m.
Right after this show, folks. So check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please, please, please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
Folks, the corporatocracy. This is no joke. What we do here is no joke. Yes, we try to make it fun sometimes. We try to make it, we try to do things to attract you. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes I write a blog with a headline that I know the headline is explosive. But if I don't put that headline, I know I'm going to get 200 reads. I put that headline on, I get 2,000. I get 5,000. I get 10,000. So, folks, please do remember that there's a lot to talk about. Scott and Richard, I'm going to come to you next, but I need to get into the article, and then I'll come to you. But stay with me. I want to hear your voices. Anyway, the title of the article is Trump and stock market are the winners in the Fed's repo loan binge. Here's the losers. And then it says as follows. The S&P 500 index and the Dow Jones Industrial Average set new records every single day last week. This occurred despite the Federal Reserve justifying its unprecedented hundreds of billions of dollars in each week in cheap loans to Wall Street trading houses as necessary to stem a liquidity crisis. You can't have a liquidity crisis when the stock market is setting records high for an entire week. Those two things just don't correlate. That means there's something deeper occurring. The Fed, through its money spigot, the New York Fed, began sluicing these funds to Wall Street on September 17th, the day the overnight borrowing rate in the repurchase agreement repo loan market spiked from 2% to 10%. This was the first such intervention by the Fed since the financial crisis. The repo market is where banks, hedge funds, and money market funds loan each other money overnight on the basis of good collateral and U.S. Treasuries. An unprecedented spike to 10% in the repo market is a harbinger that one or more of the borrowers in this market is in trouble, and lenders don't want the exposure, so they are backing away from lending. This is how free markets are supposed to work. They are supposed to be allowed to send pivotal warnings, signs from time to time through an efficient pricing mechanism. But instead of allowing the free market and efficient pricing components to function, the Fed cut the short and drew a dark curtain around this part of the market by flooding cheap electronically created money to Wall Street's trading houses. So what you're seeing there, folks, is the following. The market is getting juiced because Trump wants to show a stock market that continues to rise. You juice the market with cheap money. The only place that you can really make good is in the stock market, and the cheap money means the stock prices are higher. An extended amount of money means the stock prices go up. So you're living on a bubble, and you hear bubble all of the times. I know you hear that, but this is a more serious one that we're talking about. On December 12th, the New York Fed upped the ante and announced that over the next month, it would shower the trading houses' primary dealers on Wall Street with a cumulative total of $2.93 trillion in short-term loans. Think about that. We're always talking about trillions, and we can't find the short-term loans to invest in people, right? We can never do that. The Federal Reserve, as the central bank of the United States, is not supposed to meddle in elections or impeachment hearings, but by providing unprecedented cheap funding to Wall Street's trading houses, it's artificially boosting the stock market and the 401ks of workers. You hear what it says? Artificially boosting artificially the stock market and the 401k of workers. So as you guys see these big, huge 401ks and you say, oh, we must reelect Trump because, hell, my 401k looks good. I got a ton of money to retire. You ready for the poof? As soon as either he's reelected or any Democrat is reelected, whoever gets reelected, a poof is coming sooner than later. And I think it may actually happen I'm going to tell you what I think later. Let me finish the article. On June 15, President Trump tweeted, "The Trump economy is setting records and as a long way up to go. However, if anyone but me takes over in 2020, listen to what he's saying. If anyone but me take over in 2020, I know competition very well. There will be a market crash, the likes of which has not been seen before. Keep America great." The Trump economy is setting records, but not in a good way. The U.S. has the greatest national debt in our history, now over $23 trillion and growing. As a result of the Trump's corporate tax cut, the U.S. also has the greatest wealth and income inequality in the last 100 years, making it one of the most unequal countries in the world. Since it's billionaires and multimillionaires who own the bulk of the U.S. stock market, when the president speaks of market crash, he's actually predicting a rebalancing of America's unprecedented wealth inequality. Millions of Americans think that would be a good thing, if for no other reason than to stop billionaires from buying U.S. elections, according to a white paper released on November 17th from the National Bureau of Economic Research by economist Edward N. Wolf. This is how the ownership of the stock market stacked up at the end of 2016. The richest 10% of households control 84% of the total value of these stocks, though less than its 93% share of directly owned stocks and mutual funds. There are plenty of losers as a result of the Fed's ongoing money spigot to Wall Street. Every presidential candidate challenging Trump has had his or her argument against Trump's record undermined by a stock market spike into new highs. Only if you believe the crap. U.S. taxpayers are also the big losers. The Federal Reserve balance sheet is ballooning again as a result of these repo loans and is now backed over $4 trillion. It is a balance sheet. It is big now. What's going to happen if Wall Street blows itself up again and the Fed has to intervene as a legitimate lender of last resort? Are we looking at an unthinkable $8 trillion balance sheet at the Fed? Of course we are. U.S. taxpayers are ultimately on the hook for any losses at their central bank. U.S. investors and U.S. citizens are also the big losers. A euphoric stock market undermines the case in Congress for making the critically needed reforms of Wall Street mega banks before they blow themselves up again. And finally, the next generation and their children are the ultimate biggest losers of all. By funneling cheap loans to Wall Street trading houses, instead of using its bully pulpit to demand reforms at the casino like mega banks, the Federal Reserve is aiding and abetting and guaranteeing that the next market crash will be worse than it needs to be. That crash will result in more fiscal spending to shore up the economy, ballooning the national debt exponentially. This will mean that our children and their children will experience the blighted standard of living as more and more of federal tax revenues are diverted to service. None of these seems to have been properly deliberated. Folks, I'm going to go to the phones. Let me go to Richard. Richard, come on in.
Yeah, thank you. You pretty much answered and addressed everything that I was going to, all the topics that I was going to talk about, but I'll go ahead and give you my opinions. About 2 years, maybe 2.5 years ago, I was noticing something, an indicator called the yield curve.
Mm-hmm.
That it's been a really exact predictor over the last several decades.
Right.
It's the difference between long-term and short-term bonds.
Right.
And whenever they get under flip-flops or close to even, that's has been the indicator, and it's been 100% or close to 100% in the last few decades of a recession. But it never says when. But I was talking to different people that are a lot smarter about economics than me, and so they're like 1.5 years, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
However, where I'm going with this is what you already touched on is because that indicator popped up, like I said, 2.5 years ago, I can't help but think the reason that it hasn't matured, if you will, is that it's being propped up by people that want to see Trump succeed. It's artificial.
It is.
And I think that's basically what you were saying.
Right.
Am I correct?
You hit it on the money. What we're saying, it is artificially inflated. And because it's artificially inflated, people have a semblance that things are okay. But here's a problem. A lot of people will, one of their re-electing factors, Donald Trump, is going to be looking at their 401ks. And luckily, the vast majority of Americans don't have 401ks. So it's not like that is an inordinate amount of money. But a lot of people would like to have it. So if they're hearing that some president is propping up 401ks, or 401ks are good with Donald Trump, they know that they may get a job with Lockheed, or they may get a job with Boeing or Ford Aerospace or one of these companies. And deep down inside, they're going to say, oh, wait a minute. Well, I better still elect this guy, even though I don't have a job right now. Mm-hmm. Things may just be good enough when later on in his administration that I get a job with a 401k. And since those 401ks are juiced, why not go for it? We have to.
I'll take it a step further. I think that it's artificial until, right now it's going to be a positive. It's going to look positive. If he loses, then they're going to let nature take its course, so they can say, see, that's what you get when you elect those dang Democrats.
Actually, you hit it. You hit something that was the next subject that I was going to be talking about, because that is exactly what they do. That would be
on the same page.
Exactly
on the same page.
Right. That is exactly what would be the intent. The intent would be, okay, we've lost. Now that we've lost, oh my God, we know this thing's going to come crashing down. But since a Democrat got elected, we're just going to say, you see what happens when you elect Democrats, and your cycle lasts for 2 years, and then they take over the Senate and the Congress the year after. That is why narrative is so important. That is why you don't sit back and not tell the story because it's not time to tell the story. You continue to tell the story.
You've got to read, and you have to, like I said, research and find out what's really going on. You can't, like you just said, sit back and let what they say is going to happen without knowing, what's happening and why it's happening.
Exactly. Absolutely so. Anything else you want to add to that, Richard?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to pick on you a minute now.
Please do.
You got to get off coddling these guys. I don't run with them. I don't talk with them. I don't do business with them. If they're going to be that ignorant and stupid, the only thing they understand, Berto, is green. It ain't black. It ain't white. It's green. If you don't do business with them, if you don't buy their products, and I know it's hard to do around here where I live, because if you don't get you get an electrician come out here, and he's just like, oh, my God, if we don't reelect Donald Trump, then this country is doomed forever. I've had him the exact words say that. I can't go to another electrician because he's going to think the same thing.
Right.
However, if you're a friend of mine that thinks like that, you're an ex-friend of mine. That's what you have to be. You have to be not take no prisoners. You got to fight fire with fire. You can't keep coddling these people and say, oh, well, we're going to find common ground, like you've been saying. That's where I'm coming with the picking on you part.
That's fine. I want you to pick on me, and then I want you to hear me out.
One more. Let me finish, and I'll shut up and even hang up and let you finish.
Right. Go ahead.
When I tell these friends, ex-friends, relatives, and neighbors, don't take it personal. I'd have done the same thing in 1935, and you'd have been smooching up with Hitler just like you are Donald Trump, but don't take it personal. Now, I'll shut up and you...
Okay, don't hang up here, because let me just tell you. First of all, I understand what you're saying. And when a lot of people tell me that, right? A lot of people tell me, stop coddling. For me, it's not about coddling. My job is a bit different than your job. The position that you have as a lateral person talking to friends and otherwise, that is fine to do it. That is, and in fact, I think that is a necessary component as well. For somebody who is trying to reach people at large, I am not trying to. Here's the thing. I can't be that way, because you and I are already on the same wavelength. So you're going to sit down and have a conversation with me, and you're immediately ready to listen to what I have to say. But for somebody that I want to reach, somebody on the margins that I want to reach, right? I do have to do, and I know you call it coddling. I call it a little bit something differently. I have to find a way to first get them to have some sort of respect to me. When I say respect for me, but the ability to say, well, at least I can talk to that particular liberal, or I can talk to that particular
progressive. You're going to get to them. You're not going to get to them. That's my whole point. It's
I know.
They just dig in further.
I know. Let me just tell you one other thing, okay? I work with a group called Bridge Alliances. I actually attend some of their conferences, and I also am a board member of Coffee Party USA. And I know a lot of people say it's just not going to work, right? And a lot of people say it's just not going to work. It's not going to work for a certain percentage of people. It will not work. You're absolutely correct. But for a certain percentage of people, and I want that certain percentage of people that it's going to work with, because I don't want little wins, Richard. I want big wins. And you are not willing to do it, and that's fine, and I still respect you for who you are. I respect what you do, and I respect all of that. But also what I ask of folks like you who tell me what you tell me is, just like I say, there's collective minds work better. Believe in the collective mind, and believe that there are some that we can reach.
I had the same argument with Crystal Ball on y'all's show about a year.
I remember when Crystal Ball came.
Ago or something like that, and she said basically the same. She said, "Well, I've still got to try.
Right.
If I don't try, I'm not going to get to them."
Right.
But you're right. That's the way I roll. It's just simple as this.
And that's fine.
If you still, and this key word is still, support Donald Trump, you don't get to run with Richard.
Right. I got you, brother.
And that's just the way I roll.
And
I'm not going to try to
I'm
not going to try to.
You don't need to change.
I just have nothing for you.
Brother, you don't need to change. We need you too. You have a great one, brother.
Thank you for talking.
Bye-bye. All right, Scott, come on in.
Hi, thank you. Well, I see that Congressman Al Green has a primary opponent. I'm wondering what the issue is. Could it be impeachment? Could it be Medicare for all?
No, I don't. I hadn't figured out exactly why yet.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out why, but here's the thing, okay? A lot of these congresspersons that have been out there for a long time, I don't want to say people are starting to give folks the litmus test. It's not the litmus test thing, but there are in a time of in a time where progressives are really asserting their will, just like centrists asserted their will for a long time. If a congressperson is asked certain questions and they prove that they're just going to be standard establishment, in the case of Al Green, a Black Caucus member that really, sometimes I wonder, then there's a good chance he'll get primaried. I don't know who's primarying him or who's primarying him anyway.
I think it's a woman. I forget her name.
Okay.
Yeah, and there is a Republican running. Now, 2 years ago, he was unopposed. I think he's often been unopposed, but this time he has opposition.
Yeah.
And,
I like Al Green.
I am in Sheila Jackson Lee's district. She has opposition now.
I know her. I know who her opposition is for Sheila Jackson Lee. But for Al Green, I'm not sure who it is. But, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Sylvia Garcia has any primary opponents. Liz Fletcher has no primary opponents, but quite a lot of Republicans. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Republicans are this is the time when you're going to get a lot of Republicans get in a position because, like I said, in Texas, we are starting to smell it. Like, a lot of people don't see it, but I actually see Texas turning blue in 2020 if we don't follow the lead if we don't follow all the directives of the party. What I mean by that is we have to go out there and hunt people. And to hunt people, when I say hunt, that's a positive hunt. I shouldn't say hunt then. I should use another word. Give me another word other than hunt.
The primary, the filing deadline is already passed to file the primary. That was December 9th.
Yeah.
So we know who is running in 2020.
Yeah, we know the whole in Texas. We know the whole slate right now. We know exactly all the folks that are running. I just hadn't gone over and looked at every single race yet. Now I probably will soon because I'm going to be getting some of those people in the studio to interview. But that said, Scott, anything else you want to add?
Well, the presidency is not the only race on the ballot.
I'm glad you said that. I am so glad you said that. And actually, the presidency is one, but in Texas itself, what we need to do, first of all, Texas has a hell of a lot of state reps, not state reps, but federal congresspeople, that is. We should win the state Senate, the state Congress, and the governorship. But for now, we have to just talk about a few because that is how it's going to be handled during redistricting. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I do think the presidency is a little overestimated. Here's so much expectation that that a really good president can wave a magic wand and everything will be wonderful.
No, they can't do that. But what they can do is they can have the heart and the soul of the people and have the Congress people fear.
I think every presidential candidate has to be something of an actor.
Yeah, they do.
You remember about change we can believe in?
Yes.
Yes, that's advertising.
Yes, it was. We got a lot of change, but you're right about the advertising. Let me tell you. Here's when a lot of us kind of figured something was going to go a little bit wrong. I don't know if you remember when President Obama was running. There's this thing called Obama for America. Obama for America was a very solid grassroots operation. When they talk about Trump using micro-targeting and all that kind of stuff, Obama did micro-targeting better than anybody else. Okay, he pulled people out of the woodworks. All right, so we had that infrastructure well built. My biggest concern was let me tell you, my naive self, I thought that with what we built, and notice I said, I didn't say what Obama built, I said what we built, because it was on the precinct level, everybody was active, okay? What we built was a system that could have effected change. In other words, we could have gotten the progressive change, because even those blue dog Democrats, we could have put the fear of the movement in their hearts. We didn't. Instead, we just kind of allowed Obama for America to sort of slim off and kind of take the back burner. I know there's a lot of people saying, well, you had he had to straighten the economy out because we had to pass the stimulus package and all of that. Even the stimulus would have benefited from a strong OFA, because the stimulus was much less than needed, and it was targeted to all the wrong places, because the grassroots didn't come out and say, you know what? Tax cuts don't work. Keynesian economics would tell you that. Tax cuts in a system like that does not give you the bang for the buck. And we can go item after item. By the way, folks, telephone number 713-526-5738. If you want to get on, you'll get on quickly. 713-526-5738. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, well, we really needed an political infrastructure that is independent of the presidency. I support daily costs for that reason, but it's somewhat disappointed me. I don't think it's won very many primaries, and it certainly did not save the Democratic Party in 2010 or 2014.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not the job of Daily Kos. The job of Daily Kos is to inform. I write for them. So, I mean, the job is to inform and to try to get people to get alternative news, what I call the real independent media. But as far as winning is concerned, people have to get off of their butts and stop being keyboard warriors. I mean, I sit down on a keyboard probably 10, 12 hours a day or more, but still, if one of the activists call me, phone's ringing, if one of the activists calls me or and tell me I need you here to do something, I get from behind that keyboard rather quickly, and I get busy, and I get it done. So we have to stop being keyboard warriors. We have to stop being fearful. We all have to be ready to go out there and win this thing, because the race in 2020 is for us to lose. Okay, we start out on the winning path. But thank you so kindly, Scott.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Stephanie, come on in.
Hi. I heard something read something on Daily Kos.
Mm-hmm.
It was a comment by someone, and what they did was they said that in the 2020 election, the American people are a lot like the passengers on Flight 93.
Okay.
That was the flight that was taken over by hijackers.
I know that they killed themselves to save the world. Yeah.
Well, they took it over, and the idea was to do anything other than allow it to crash into its intended target.
Yes, right.
They didn't have a realistic chance of landing it.
Right.
We're still in the same position, but we have a chance of landing it.
Okay.
But we're just as in danger as the passengers of 93, and we have to do something.
Okay.
At all cost.
Okay.
That was what somebody said, and it really applies on so many levels.
Now, let me see if you can explain to me. Tell me, okay, you've just said that. What's your next step?
We need, among other things, besides all the social things that Democrats are normally talking about, we need an industrial effort for environmental purposes to reform energy, transportation, urban land use, agriculture that will dwarf the industrial effort we put into World War II.
Now,
it has to be much bigger and much broader. It'll also have a secondary effect of putting people to work.
Wow.
But we need to do the things. Employment is just a secondary or tertiary benefit of it.
I am glad you said that. You know, I first thought that this next statement, based on what you said, I thought the next statement out of your mouth was, so we just need to pick somebody that we think can win.
No.
I am so happy that
we need major structural changes.
Thank you.
Also, if we get, let's say we perfect, absolute perfection, health, education, welfare, human rights, and all those things that we really do need to change, if we perfect those things and ignore the environmental things or just do what little we're doing now, we're going to lose all of our coastal cities. You can draw a line from San Francisco to the east, from San Antonio to the north, and just erase it, because there will be no forests, because the rivers will stop running. Well, basically all the forests, the mountain forests of the Rockies and the Sierras will burn up. All the cropland in the area will die, and all the cities that depend on those rivers will die. The only thing that will be out there living will be a few semi-automated military bases and maybe a few Navajos living up in the hills. But that's about it.
You know what gets me? First of all, you're right. But the thing that gets me is, a lot of times when I do the programs, people tend to say, you sound like you hate the rich or you envy the rich, something negative towards the rich. And for me, that's not the case at all. It's just that I know that the rich are quite a bit more intelligent than they'll purport to be. But they make the bet that there are two things. One, the immediate rich would be dead by the time the catastrophe happens in some of their minds. And second, those who don't think they'll be dead, they have enough money to move to places where it's okay and things would be just fine. And when I talk about the way, a lot of folks have been, a lot of Democrats have been hitting a lot of my blogs and my podcast really hard because they think I'm being divisive by trying to push exactly these things that you are talking about and saying that there's, we these are not fringe things. The fringe is actually the people who would make all these bad things happen. They are the fringe. We are the ones that are actually trying to move things forward, make things positive for people. And a lot of Democrats are so fearful right now. I mean, the fear is palpable. They just think that the masters at the establishment tells them the only person can win is person X. And they get mad at anybody who doesn't support person X because we've got to get Trump out of there. My answer to them is, look, Trump is not as bad, and I don't want people to castrate me for saying this, but Trump is not as bad as folks would have it, and a lot of past progressive or supposedly progressive presidents that we've had have not been as good as we wanted to, because they were all constrained by the plutocracy. The plutocracy runs them both. When you talk about transformational change, those are the things that we have to do to eliminate those who really run things in the country.
Obama was basically tied up by McConnell.
Yeah.
So he essentially wasn't able to do anything, and I really don't consider the Affordable Health Care Act to be anything. It was just a holding pattern because it was compromised into ineffectiveness.
Right.
Clinton essentially did nothing good in a lot of things that the oligarchs wanted them to do, the financial people. Carter didn't have the he had the good thoughts, but he didn't follow through with it. He was so focused on balancing the budget, because that's what he did as governor of Georgia. But a state is not the same thing as a superpower nation. You have to balance the books of a state, but a nation can essentially print money.
Right.
I don't mean physically print it, but they essentially can order things to be done like Roosevelt did during World War II.
Right.
What we have to do is bigger than what Roosevelt does, and it has to be broader and has to last a lot longer. As it is, we probably will lose Galveston, New Orleans, Miami, and some of the others.
Exactly.
But Houston, we'll lose some of the area along the coast of Houston.
Right.
We may
Clear
or may
Lake
not.
in those areas, yeah.
New York might be able to build a dike because it is built on bedrock,
right,
whereas we're built on sandbars.
Right.
But a lot of places, there's other places that are in between. If we do nothing, we lose them. If we successfully slow down and reverse, excess carbon and stuff, then we may be able to stop those areas from being flooded on the coast or burned up in the interior.
Right.
So we can lose wheat belt could basically become scrubbed.
You hit it on the money. I got to go, but that is you're hitting it on the money, my friend. I'm glad you called. I'm glad that you kind of brought those subjects up, because I think it is things people need to know about, and it makes a good dinner conversation tomorrow during Christmas without having to talk politics. Actually, you can actually say we just need to do these things, and whoever is willing to do it, that's what's going to happen. Thank you so kindly, my friend.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Okay, MOD, I'm coming to you next, but in the studio with me, I have El Señor John Garcia. How you doing, John?
Hi, Berto. Very well. Aquí, enjoying your program and the calls. Very interesting.
Well, John is a friend of mine from Venezuela, and we get into it because I'm a Chavista and he's not.
Sorry. God forgive you. God forgive you.
No, but it is okay. But, what we notice, and this is something that I talk to my folks here all the time, we're good friends, and
Yes.
believe it or not, we share the same values. How exactly those are implemented is always what we kind of converse about. In fact, that's what we're conversing about.
Yes, I think I just want also to retake the call of the person that just called.
Yes.
That he was saying that the U.S. needs like a structural industrial transformation.
Right.
But we were not about speaking about who is the responsible to start that transformation. We normally expect that the governments do it.
Right.
And you said, okay, we need to elect somebody to do it. But the real responsibility is on the people, is on the citizen. And how I find out that in going back to my country, Venezuela, you were supporter of a regime that I think that destroyed my country. But that regime proposed a transformation.
Right.
But they didn't have a roadmap.
Right.
There was a roadmap that they were building it day by day, and they actually ended up destroying the country.
Right.
So making the roadmap, thinking about how is the New Deal, how he said about FDR. FDR proposed like a new dream for the country, and everybody was enthusiastic building it.
Right.
So I think that the U.S. and many other countries, we need like a new deal.
Now, let me tell you, let me stop you there. John in Venezuela had a group called Pon tu Ladrillo.
Yes, place your brick
to build
a better country.
And that is what I love about John, because, he's not just talking in a position to, to my left wingness. He's saying, well, check this out. We can do it this way, which is I'm always interested in listening to. I completely disagree with him that Chavez destroyed the country. I think Chavez had a lot of help from the United States and other places who could not have a country sitting on an ocean of oil under socialist control. It just wouldn't work, because somehow saying that all that oil belongs to the people and not the corporation is going to create a problem. But we'll get into that another time. That's not the subject of the show. That's another story for another time. I need to get MOD in and then Tommy. So let's go ahead and talk. MOD, I'm going to give you some time here. Go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
Hello.
Go ahead, MOD.
Well, I think you would have to reverse the Monroe Doctrine, right, to change those policies down south, right?
Yes, but let me tell you, I don't even want to talk about what Mr. Ladrillo and I just spoke about with changing the policies down south yet. I wanted to commend you on, I don't know if you listened to the beginning of the show.
No, I missed that. I missed the beginning of the show.
Why did you miss the beginning of the show, my brother? I'm kidding. But anyway, you were mentioned in the beginning of the show because today's topic actually covered the repo market. And you remember we've spoken about the repo market a couple of times. So in the blog post that we did for the show, I made sure to give you nombre marcada for saying that you were here, that you were one of the people that listened to Politics Done Right who brought up that subject before.
Okay. Well, let's just say that then, that we have two parties that are actors, and then we have a government that is run by the banks, and they can create trillions of dollars on the fly. And what's this, when we think about deficits and all that, who creates those deficits?
Well, you know who that. I mean, every American citizen know that there are a lot of reasons for deficits. One is not taxing appropriately. The secondly is giving away socialized corporatocracy. There's a whole lot of things we can talk about.
So the usury is in place. What do you think if Tom Perez Suarez wants to make sure that Donald Trump wins 2020, and that goes down, who's going to be your 2024 candidate?
Well, if we want Donald Trump to win 2020, it has to be one of the centrists, okay? Because one of the centrists getting elected will ensure that the base of the party which came out in 2018 doesn't show up again. That's all. It's that simple.
Well, they'll probably use someone like Bloomberg to make sure Trump wins, right?
Well, actually, Bloomberg could. People are going to hate me saying this, but Bloomberg is an intelligent man.
I didn't say he wasn't.
No, but let me go further. Bloomberg also understands micro-targeting, and unlike the Democratic Party, Bloomberg does want to win, and Bloomberg is putting his money where his mouth is. He's actually putting his money into electronics, the same kind of electronics that Donald Trump has unlimited money to perform so that he can micro-target, confuse, and all that kind of stuff. That infrastructure is being built by El Señor Bloomberg. Others are not doing that. You see, hold on a second. I think if we were serious about really wanting a big win, a big progressive win, it wouldn't be all that difficult. Because all we have to do is the same thing Donald Trump did, both on social media and all these things. And because our message is more realistic and talk to more people, we would get more people. And for the parts of the parts of the electorate that are what we like to call racist, but it's a lot more complicated.
Well,
It is
that's
true.
the bill that you mentioned before, Berto. So how about the 8th wealthiest person in the world, Bloomberg? And yes, the technocratic order that he fosters with, my goodness, all the austerity, with the current one being opportunity zones, like Jamie Dimon.
Okay, we're not going to talk about those today.
I know
you like to talk about the opportunity zones. We'll talk about that another time. I promise you that. Just like I brought up the repo for you today, I'll bring that up because it does have some mentions. I got to let you go to Tommy.
Peace.
Go ahead, real quick. Oops. All right, go ahead, Tommy.
Homeboy.
Este es mi hermano con el camión.
Dude, you need to take a break from politics. How about that? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Hey.
I tuned into what's that?
Huh?
No, I thought I was interrupting you.
No, you're not. You never interrupt me, Tommy. I always have time for you, brother. This is my favorite Republican.
I'm not a Republican. So I tuned in. I'm like, I wonder what they're going to talk about today. And then it's just politics as usual. Homeboy, take a break. You know me. I don't pay attention to politics a lot.
Yeah, I know. I've been on your show, brother.
You what?
I've been on your show. I know you don't do politics.
Yeah, we just have fun. We just rock it. We had an awesome final show. By the way, speaking of the show, I wasn't going to bring it up.
Yes.
We got nominated again. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. We have an award show coming this Saturday.
I got nominated again?
I got nominated again.
You got nominated again.
We won last year.
Yeah.
We got nominated again this year. So
yeah. Well, you're probably going to win again. You're probably going to win again. But here's the deal. What's the name of my show?
Politics Done Right.
There you go. And you know what I've been telling people to do today?
Enjoy. Have a very Merry Christmas.
And you know what else I told them to do? To sit down. I had a subject today, and I told them when they go and have their Christmas dinner that they should discuss this particular subject.
No, don't encourage politics over Christmas vacation.
I tell you what, El Ponto Ladrillo, I want to say something.
Hello, Mr. Tony. I'm a friend of Berto. I'm here with him in the studio today. But about politics, what is sometimes divisive in the family is speaking about electoral politics. Like, I vote for this.
I'm Hispanic, and my family and I do not see eye to eye on politics.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wait. Ponto, let him finish, Tommy. Let him finish.
I can verbally defend myself when especially my older uncles who are like hippies.
Yeah.
And they're hippie liberals, and they believe in, like, everything you believe, they believe. And I'm not going to have conversations with them. So, like, no, we avoid politics.
No, but listen to what he says. Listen to.
But what I just wanted to say is that instead of speaking about parties or candidates, you speak about policy, about how the society should be resolving the situation, the problems. That's a kind of conversation that is more constructive, and then you don't get to the division moment, and it's sometimes better to just get to a solution together, and it's in that way. That's the real politics, not like electoral politics. Is in Spanish we call it politiquería. It's like
Politiquería, I like
of
that
course,
one.
it's not the real thing. It's just the fighting for the power, but it's not solving the situation or shaping the society.
Let me tell you something about Tommy. I've been on Tommy's show, right? Tommy says he doesn't do politics, right? Tommy is full of it. Tommy does politics. He just come on, politics. Tommy,
you said pole. What is it called?
Politiquería. Come on, learn your Spanish, dude.
Well, we'll be playing lotería. That's about political giving. La Serena, La Pera, La Arbol.
Oye, mira, go home. Are you on the road?
No, I'm home. I'll take the day off.
You take the day off. Okay, well, look, look here, Tommy. I want you to have a feliz Navidad y próspero año nuevo porque creo que hablo contigo el año que viene, right?
Sí, de veras que sí.
All right. But look, it was great hearing from you, brother.
All right, bro. Take a break, man.
All right, man. Bye.
All right.
Great. Okay, we don't have any calls on, but that's what El Señor Ladrillo. Let's talk expand a little bit about that. You do a lot of writing. We have some stuff we're going to be going over. Talk to me.
No, I just wondering the program, the idea you started speaking about economy is just great on how I see that the USA is a kind of very different from every other country.
Right.
For example, my country, Venezuela, your beloved Chavez.
Yeah.
What he did when he ran out of money and he spent everything he got from oil, he just started printing bills, printing bills because as the national bank or the central bank is not independent.
Right.
So he was just printing bills. And then it comes the inflation.
Right.
In the U.S., it's different. This is what the U.S. is doing.
The same thing, just at a larger scale.
Yeah, getting loans from everywhere, from the Chinese mainly, and just having an incredible big debt. But at the same time, the money that the whole world use is the dollar.
Right.
So it's not how much you have in debt. If the rest of the world believe or trust the USA, if the trust is there, then the cataclysm doesn't appear.
Full faith in the United States.
In the moment that the trust, the faith disappear, then it will be the cataclysm. Because in this, it's not as fast as Latin American country as Venezuela. Because your money is weak. If you print money, just the devaluation is huge. But right here, inflation starts looking. I see things increasing prices. And that's maybe the cataclysm is not one day. It's not the next day. It's just prices increasing. And what is going on? It's just the trust. The faith is disappearing, and the prices the real value of the money is showing up.
Now, John, I mean, you said something important, right? But here's the deal. As I see it, at least, right now we still have a huge market. The American market is still huge compared to even a country like China that has a whole lot more people. And that is just because of per capita for the billionaires and millionaires or whatever. We have so many of those here. But it is dwindling as you lose the middle class, as you lose it dwindles. And when you talk about it, the full faith of the American dollar that people have right now, China and the European Union, these guys are already seeing, because of the type of presidents America are now willing to elect. Remember this, okay? They were always sure that we were going to get an Obama or a Bush. When I say an Obama or a Bush, or centrist folk. Obama, even as he campaigned as a progressive, he governed pretty darn centrist, and that is what the corporatocracy likes. That is and they always kept the World Bank flushed. Everything was. Donald Trump proves to them now, especially if Donald Trump were to get reelected, or if Donald Trump came close to being elected again, it'll give a message to the market that we are no longer a stable country, because we're a country capable of making the same stupid mistakes that, in your case, you would think Venezuela made a mistake for having faith in Chavez. A lot of other people would think that their countries made mistakes in the particular leadership that they chose.
Yeah, because I don't want to put this in the centrist or more liberal or more extremist government.
I want to say
economy,
this. Centrist meaning following the current economic model.
Yeah, because the economy is not subject to ideology sometimes. That's a mistake that Chavez and every extreme left president does. That is, things that like will, voluntarism will drive the economy to where they want it to drive it. But the laws of the economy are different. For economy, what a president or a country should do is being responsible.
Yeah.
It's not spending what you don't have. You're producing more if you want to spend more.
I want to ask you a question because I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time.
And making sure your country still produces. The USA was a great industrial country that had been losing that
Tiempo.
Yes.
Here's the deal. Because we don't have a lot of time. I think it is wrong to say that an economy is not an ideology. Because an economy is an ideology. Free enterprise is not an ideology in that everybody gets to move. But when you talk about the functions of how our economy work, it is an ideology. And I think we first have to accept that, and then we can move on to say, well, how we can start building the ladrillos to form a,
Yes, of course. But in playing the game have different tactics. You can play baseball with different tactics.
Sure.
But you cannot, run, instead of running to first base, running to third base.
No, you can't.
There are things that you cannot do in economy. And like spending more than what you produce for limited time.
Stop a second. Stop. I got to stop you there.
You cannot do it.
Let me tell you why I got to stop you there, okay? I really want you to consider talking to economists who understand what's called monetary theory, new monetary theory. I don't remember exactly what the theory is called, but new monetary theory is something to the MNT, yeah. Because it's important to understand. If I have enough, I'm going to ask you one simple question and then I got to go. If I have a lot of buildings to build, and I have enough material to build that building, and I have enough workers to build that building, but I don't have the money to build that building, should that building be built?
Well, if you have the materials and the workers, you almost have everything.
But almost is not good enough. Should that building be built or not?
But you ask for a loan. If building the buildings will increase whatever you want to do.
If you're telling me that your economic system with those three factors, you have everything needed to put that building up. That's the type of economies we have now. We have money as the limiting factor in the economies. We have unemployed people and we have work to be done. And somehow we can't have those things met together. That is what all these economists have already been unable to solve. And not only have they been unable to solve, but they have failed miserably. I only have 8 seconds. John Pong to Ladrillo, thank you so kindly for being here. This is Politics Done Right. I'm Berto Willis, and I am out.